Financial fraud doesn't start when money disappears. In most cases, the signals appear well before a single transaction is made. A stolen credential, a spoofed domain, an AI-cloned voice on a phone call, a coordinated campaign running in the background while your fraud team is watching the transaction layer. The FBI received more than 1 million cybercrime complaints in a single year for the first time in its history. Total reported losses crossed $20.8 billion. That is a 26% increase over the year before. In this video, we will break down how financial fraud actually starts and how teams can move from reacting to preventing. If you work in fraud prevention or security intelligence and risk, subscribe to the Liferaft channel for practical threat intel. The link to book a consultation with our team is in the description below. Now let's get into the data. OSINT, open source intelligence, is the practice of collecting publicly available or legally accessible signals early. Those signals appear across the surface web, the deep web, the dark web, online forums, and messaging communities. This is not about accessing private systems. It is about gaining visibility into the external environment where fraud originates. The FTC reported Americans lost a record $15.9 billion to fraud in 2025, up 430% since 2020. Business email compromise generated over $3 billion in losses. 86% were transmitted by wire transfer or ACH. According to Alloy and BIAA data, 67% of banks and fintechs reported an increase in fraud activity. To understand why early detection matters, you need to understand how modern financial fraud actually unfolds. Stage 1 is data exposure. Stolen credentials were the initial access vector in 22% of all breaches. Stage 2 is testing. Akamai's research counted approximately 26 billion credential stuffing attempts per month. Stage 3 is infrastructure. The FBI documented over 22,000 AI-related complaints, with losses exceeding $893 million. Only at this final stage does the fraud reach your monitoring systems. Preventing it means acting at stages 1, 2, and 3. Here are 7 specific ways fraud and security teams are using OSINT to move earlier in that life cycle. Method 1. Monitoring for credential exposure. Exposed credentials represent a pre-attack signal, not a post-incident notification. Stolen credentials frequently reach underground markets within 48 hours. OSINT creates a window to act before login attempts start. Method 2. Monitoring for brand impersonation. Fraudsters build fake infrastructure before any customer ever sees it. OSINT monitoring detects lookalike domains the moment they are registered, allowing for takedowns before the campaign hits. Method 3. Dark web monitoring. This means passively observing threat signals like carding discussions or targeted toolkits. Method 4. Connecting signals. This is where teams fail evaluating signals in isolation rather than seeing the full coordinated campaign. Method 5. Detecting individual targeting. In 2025, business email compromise generated over $3 billion in losses. Deepfakes are now BEC enablers. In one case, an employee wired $25 million after a video call where everyone else was a deepfake. Method 6. Tracking shifts. Javelin reported a 31% rise in new account fraud victims driven by AI synthetic identities. Scammers are increasingly stealing information instead of money, setting up future fraud that doesn't show up in today's loss figures. Method 7. Turning signals into action. The goal is converting aggregate signals into prioritized decisions quickly. The FBI's recovery asset team achieved a 58% success rate in freezing transfers, but success depends entirely on speed. Without early detection, a fraud group targets a bank in week 1, registers a domain in week 2, and moves funds by week 3. With OSINT, the credential batch triggers resets in week 1. The lookalike domain triggers a takedown in week 2. The theft never occurs. Ethics are simple. Monitor to not participate. Interacting with threat actors or purchasing stolen data is not OSINT. Let's recap. Fraud losses reached record highs in 2025, and the majority of that fraud begins well before the transaction. Early signals are detectable, and AI has fundamentally changed the surface-making voice cloning and deepfakes documented BEC enablers. The goal is faster decisions. Platforms like Liferaft bridge the gap between fragmented signals and prioritized intelligence. If you want to move from reacting to preventing, book a consultation with our team using the link in the description, and subscribe for more methodology on fraud risk detection. Because the earlier you see the signal, the more you can do about it.